Hi, my name is Rob, and today I'm going to be giving you a quick demonstration of how you can build an anchored expandable in Flexitive. Now, before I start building, I wanted to quickly cover what an anchored expandable is. So an anchored expandable is an ad product that's going to sit anchored on the bottom of your site. And as I scroll through the site, it's always going to be in view and stuck to the bottom. Now, it's also a responsive creative, so if I resize the browser here, you're going to be able to see that the creative is able to adapt to a different screen size. So you can imagine this on a tablet, on a mobile device. It's able to adapt those different screen sizes. If I also tap on the creative now, it's going to expand out to completely fill the screen. From here, as with the anchored portion, I'm able to resize this to fit to, say, for example, a tablet size or a mobile screen as well. Just click on the X to close it. So an anchored expandable in Flexitive is built using a responsive creative. Now, building a responsive creative looks and feels pretty similar to what you would do for a fixed size creative, but there are a couple small differences that I'm going to want to highlight here. So to start, I'm just going to call my creative adaptive bean anchored expandable and just tap create. Now, the first difference you're going to see is that rather than jumping into the blank canvas on a fixed size, I'm going to scroll down and jump into a blank canvas on a responsive size. And when I'm working with responsive creatives, you'll notice in the all sizes view that rather than the resolutions that you might be used to seeing on a fixed size creative, I'm instead given the option of these different aspect ratios. Now, a responsive creative is actually one single creative that's built up of multiple different aspect ratios that the creative will be able to look to for reference points when displaying itself. So for example, if I'm going to be displaying this creative in such a way that it would be viewed at a 5:1 aspect ratio, it'll look at all of the different aspect ratios and choose the 5:1 and display using that. We recommend that whenever you're building a responsive creative, you always activate every single aspect ratio that the creative could possibly be viewed in. So for an anchored expandable, typically we find that that is between a 3:1 aspect ratio all the way out to about an 8:1. So I'm going to start off by just jumping into an 8:1 by clicking on it. And then, as normal, I'm just going to upload my image assets to work with today. Change my background to be white. And then, as with any Flexitive creative, I can add images to the canvas by dragging and dropping. Just going to snap this to all edges, use this as my background, and then just add a coffee cup, which I'm going to center. And then I'll put the call to action on the right and the logo for Adaptive Bean on the left. So I'm just keeping it really, really simple today, not looking to do anything too fancy with this creative. What I'm going to do now is just quickly add some animations. So I'll just tap start animating. And once again, as normal, just going to animate my background in with fade in animation, add a second frame, and I'll have my adaptive bean call to action fade in from below. While at the same time, the logo fades in from above. And then on a third frame, I'm going to animate my coffee cup in as a fade in action. As with any other creative, I can preview this animation sequence just by tapping play, and I'll be able to see what that looks like. So I'm keeping it really, really straightforward today, not looking to do anything too fancy with this creative, just looking to give you guys an idea of how you might go about building your own anchored expandable. From here, I'm going to jump back out to the all sizes view and start activating some additional sizes. So I need to go from 8:1 all the way down to 3:1. So I'll tap on the 7:1, 6:1, and as with any other creative, Flexitive will do a pretty good job of adapting this to fit to the different layouts. And when I get to the 5:1, I want to actually do something here just to demonstrate what this will, when I'm actually going through the preview page, I want there to be a little bit of a difference when I get down to this 5:1 aspect ratio. So I'm just going to make a small change here. Stack these on top of one another. And maybe make this cup a little bit bigger. Back to my all sizes view, and I'll activate the 4:1 and the 3:1 as well. So now that I've activated all of the sizes for my anchored portion, I'm actually going to need to jump over to the full screen tab and start activating the sizes that I'm going to use for the expanded portion. So to start, I'm just going to click on the 16:9 to activate that size, and then I'm going to jump in and make a couple quick edits. So first thing I'm going to do, just adjust the sizing and positioning. But one thing that I want to add here that isn't going to be in my collapsed portion is a text box that says celebrate coffee. So just give me 1 sec to reposition these. Then from here, I'll go into the assets panel, and as normal, I'll add some text. Now, I don't want this to be visible in any of my collapse sizes, and right now I only have this one expanded sizes built, so I'm just going to jump into the Customize Element panel and hide this from every other size by tapping on only this size. And then I'll just jump into the text settings to start editing the text. Now, this is same options that you always have, so I'll set the font to be Montserrat, change the font color to be white, and I'll align this to center. And then from there, I can always change the copy. So for example, celebrate coffee. And I'll just quickly resize and reposition this to fit a little bit better to my canvas. Just quickly line it up like so and stack these on top of one another. So that's my 16 by 9 finished. I'm going to jump back out to my all sizes view, and now activating additional sizes is done simply by tapping on them in the editor. Just takes a second to do. Now, I might need to jump in, make a couple small edits from time to time, but for the most part, this should activate pretty straightforwardly for me. Jump back out to my all sizes view. And I'm just going to tap on portrait now and start activating some additional portrait sizes. So if I click on the 3x4, this layout doesn't really work for a portrait size, so I'm just going to jump in and make a couple more quick edits. So I'll adjust the call to action here. I'll make the text on one line. Just quickly adjust the size and position of this coffee cup as well. Stack everything on top of one another and just align them to the center of the canvas. And jump back out to my all sizes view. From here, same thing, just tap to activate the rest of my sizes. So now that I've activated all of the different sizes that I'm going to need for this anchored expandable, I'm going to also want to create a preview page for someone to view it. So I'm going to save my creative quickly and exit the editor. And in this middle panel, you'll see for every single creative, there's a creative ID. And what I'm going to do is click on the creative ID to copy it to my clipboard. I'm actually going to move across to this anchored expandable visualizer. Now, if I copy and paste that creative ID into the creative ID field and tap on generate, Flexitive is actually going to create a preview link to display this as an anchored expandable. So to start, it'll be anchored to the bottom as normal. It will be responsive. So if I resize the browser down to say a tablet size or to a size for a mobile phone, it's going to be able to adapt. As well as if I tap on it, it's going to jump out to be a full page responsive unit. And once again, resize the creative, you'll be able to adapt. Just tap the X to close it down. Now, if I want to send this across to a client, I'm just going to tap on share, and it's going to give me this preview link here that I can just copy and paste and send across to a client for them to view. The preview page for the anchored expandable works like any other preview page in Flexitive. You can update it in Flexitive, and those updates will be displayed in real time on your visualizer, and anyone can view this, whether they're a Flexitive user or not. So now that I'm happy with how this anchored expandable looks, I'm going to need to create a tag in order to serve it through DFP. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up the tag generator document. Now we'll have provided you with this document and you'll have your own version. But what I'll need to do here is just copy and paste the creative ID into this creative ID field. Then from there, I'll just go along and fill out the different settings for this particular creative. I'll start off by naming the campaign. So I'll just call this Adaptive Bean, give it a date, and we'll call this Testing Adaptive Bean. Now these aren't mandatory, but we do strongly recommend that you label them in some way just to make it easier to find later. And then I'm just going to make some, I'm just going to put in some settings for how I want this to be displayed, whether it's the maximum width or whether or not this is an expandable creative. All of these are controlled within here. So I'm going to set the width to go to 100%, set the height to be 90 pixels. I can ignore the max width and the min width, but I'll set it today for 900 and 200. And then I'm just going to set it to be an expandable creative that is responsive and make it so that when it does expand, it will expand to fill 100% of the canvas in both width and height. Now I can then take this and copy and paste it into any text editor and send that script across to my AdOps team to traffic through DFP. Now, that covers everything that I was looking to chat about today in terms of building an anchored expandable. So if you do have any other questions, I welcome you to shoot a quick message across to us at support@flexitive.com, or to use the Need Support widget in the editor if you have any questions while working there. And otherwise, thanks so much for joining, and hope you have a good day.